There's something you keep reaching for, even if you don't know how to name it. A calm that doesn't vanish, a rhythm that doesn't break, a way of being that doesn't get swallowed by the chaos around you. You've tasted it before, in a quiet moment, a peaceful walk, a breath of stillness, but it slips away, and you don't know how to make it stay. So you go back to chasing it, again. Maybe you thought presence was just a feeling, a rare mood you stumble into on special days, when nothing is demanding your attention. But presence is more than a break from stress. It's a return to your center, and not just once, but again and again and again, until returning becomes your rhythm. I'm not talking about living slowly or giving up on progress. I'm talking about building a mind that doesn't lose itself, a soul that knows how to come back to the now, even when everything else is pulling it away, because the world won't stop being fast, but your mind doesn't have to match its speed. Presence isn't something the world gives you. It's something you choose to keep. You've probably felt it, that moment of connection when the noise fades, when your breath deepens, when you feel like you're finally inside your own life, not just watching it go by, not performing, not escaping, but inhabiting it, even if just for a moment. But the moment doesn't last, does it? You get pulled back by your thoughts, your fears, your deadlines, and part of you wonders if real peace is even possible. You think maybe I'm just not wired for stillness. Maybe I'm too distracted, too tired, too late. But none of that is true. Presence isn't a gift for the lucky. It's a skill for the willing. The reason it feels so far away isn't because it's distant. It's because your attention has been trained to live elsewhere, in yesterday's regrets, in tomorrow's worries, in the pressure of doing more, in the fear of not being enough. So of course, it's hard to stay grounded. You were never taught how. Presence isn't about escaping. It's about learning to stay with your breath, to stay with what you feel, to stay with God, here and now. Even if the world keeps spinning, even if your mind wants to run, you stay anyway. Jesus knew how to stay. In the storm, he slept. In the crowd, he listened. In the pressure, he paused. He didn't confuse motion with meaning. He didn't confuse silence with absence. He lived rooted, and he invites you to do the same. But we live in a world that rewards hurry, that celebrates multitasking, that praises the one who gets the most done, not the one who sees the clearest. So we adapt, we rush, we accumulate, and somewhere along the way, we stop hearing our own soul. You might have noticed the signs: tension in your jaw, shallow breathing, forgetting what you walked into the room to do, snapping at someone you love, feeling like life is passing and you're not in it. These are not failures, they're invitations to return, because you don't need a weekend retreat to find presence. You need permission to begin now, right here, as you are, with distractions, with noise, with a mind that wanders and a heart that aches. This is your place of practice. This is holy ground, not later, now, and you don't have to do it alone. The Spirit of God is not waiting at the finish line. He's walking with you in the moment you're in your breath, in your pause, in your longing to slow down. Presence is not about effort, it's about awareness, and awareness always starts with noticing. So start by noticing. Notice how often your mind drifts. Notice the tone you use when you speak to yourself. Notice the weight you carry that you never name. Noticing is sacred. It's the first door back to the now. And the now is where God dwells, not in your performance, but in your presence. There is nothing more spiritual than being fully here, not distracted by what was, not paralyzed by what might be, but awake to what is, awake to your breath, awake to your body, awake to the whisper of God that only speaks in the stillness. Presence is not a weekend practice. It's a mental rhythm, something you can cultivate moment by moment. And yes, it will take time. But every time you return, it gets easier. Every time you pause, it gets quieter. Every time you breathe with intention, you remember who you are. And maybe you don't know how to build that rhythm yet. Maybe you're wondering, where do I begin? Not just in theory, but in real life. What does presence look like in the middle of pressure, in deadlines, in doubt, in tiredness? That's what we'll walk through in the next part, step by step, one breath at a time. To turn presence into a mental habit is to stop treating peace as a visitor. Most people wait for silence to arrive before they allow themselves to slow down, but silence rarely arrives on its own. The truth is, presence is not found, it is built. It's a posture of the heart that is learned moment by moment. And like any habit, it begins with repetition, not perfection. What seems difficult today becomes natural with practice. But first, you need to understand what keeps you from staying here. The greatest barrier to presence is not busyness, it's distraction. We've been taught to live in reaction, not reflection. Our minds jump between tasks, memories, and fears like open tabs on a screen. We don't even notice we've left the present until something breaks or someone gets hurt. We live with our attention split, and that split costs us clarity, joy, and connection. You cannot feel God when you're not fully where you are, and you cannot feel whole while living fragmented. Presence in real life doesn't mean quitting your job or moving to the mountains. It means waking up with the intention to be in your life, not just move through it. It means brushing your teeth with attention, not scrolling, listening with your whole face, not planning your reply, noticing when you leave yourself, and gently coming back. The ordinary becomes sacred when you're in it fully. That's where God often waits, not in the grand, but in the grounded. Jesus showed us how to live this way. He wasn't hurried. He wasn't easily pulled. Even with crowds pressing in, even with a cross ahead, he stayed rooted. He noticed the woman in the crowd who touched his robe. He paused to weep with Mary and Martha before Lazarus was raised. He withdrew to pray, not to escape, but to return. Luke 5:16 says, Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. He created a rhythm of returning, a mental habit of connection. If the Son of God needed space to reset, so do you. But unlike Jesus, we often wait for collapse before we pause. We treat presence like medicine instead of prevention. But what if it became your baseline? What if peace was no longer an exception, but your default state? That doesn't mean you'll never feel anxious. It means you'll know how to return. Returning is the secret. And every return makes the next one easier. The body is often the first to tell you when you've left presence. Tight shoulders, shallow breath, a clenched jaw. These are signals, not problems. Your body holds what your mind avoids. When you notice tension without judging it, you're already stepping back into awareness. And in that space, you get to choose. Keep rushing or return, not with guilt, with grace, with the simple decision to be here again. Another way to notice is by paying attention to your tone, not just with others, but with yourself. Are you sharp, rushed, dismissive? Do you speak to yourself with compassion or criticism? Presence softens your voice. It slows your rhythm. It brings you back into relationship with yourself. You don't need to force change. You need to listen. And listening begins in stillness. We are not trained for stillness. Most of us were raised in environments where silence meant something was wrong. So we filled every gap with sound, screens, or productivity. That's why being present feels unfamiliar. But unfamiliar doesn't mean impossible. It means unpracticed. And the good news is, practice changes everything. The more you practice presence, the more your nervous system begins to trust it. One of the most powerful things Jesus said about attention is found in Matthew 6:34. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. He wasn't just giving comfort, he was giving direction. Stay here. You are not designed to carry the weight of imagined futures. You are not built to solve what doesn't exist yet. God meets you where you are, never where you are not. So come back. To transform presence into a habit, you need micro moments, not major shifts. One deep breath before you answer a text. One pause before you open the next tab. One prayer while washing the dishes. These are not small things. These are retraining moments. And each one tells your brain, we live here now, in the present, not in regret, not in fear, but here, where grace is always available. You might think you're too distracted to ever be present for long, but distraction is not a diagnosis. It's just a pattern, and every pattern can be rewired. You are not broken, you are busy, and there is a difference. You can begin again, right now, right here. You don't need an ideal setting, you just need intention. Intention is where all transformation begins. One of the greatest lies we tell ourselves is that we'll slow down later, after the launch, after the kids grow, after the crisis ends. But peace is not something you schedule, it's something you choose. The door is open now. The spirit is ready now. You don't need to be calm before you come. You come, and that's what brings the calm. You can be present even when life is loud, even when your to-do list is full. Presence is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of awareness, a quiet strength that lets you walk through the noise without losing yourself in it. That's what Jesus showed us, not how to avoid storms, but how to sleep inside the boat. Let's not make presence another thing to achieve. Let it be something you return to, a home you never stopped belonging to, a posture, not a project, a choice, not a challenge. And when you forget, because you will, you can return again. That's the beauty of grace. It always waits at the door of now. In your daily life, begin to notice where you leave yourself. When do you stop breathing deeply? When do you lose patience? These are not failures. They are entry points, invitations to be kind with yourself, to start again, to begin living this moment, not as a rehearsal, but as the real thing. Presence, when practiced enough, becomes protection. It guards you from overreaction, from emotional exhaustion, from drifting too far from your values. When you're present, you see more clearly, you love more deeply, you listen more openly, and that is not small, that is holy. You will not always feel peaceful, but you can still live present. You can still notice your thoughts without being ruled by them. You can feel fear without fleeing. You can be uncertain and still grounded. Presence is not the removal of emotion. It is the space where emotion becomes understandable, livable, safe. If you've felt far from yourself lately, this is your way back. Not a dramatic change, a quiet one, a reorientation of attention, a decision to stop watching your life and start inhabiting it again. Jesus said, "Remain in me, and I will remain in you." John 15:4. This is not mystical, it is relational, and relationships require presence. Let this message not stay in your head. Let it enter your day. Choose one moment today to pause, one moment to breathe, one moment to ask, where am I right now? And in that question, you will often find God, not because he moved, but because you noticed. And that's where we'll go next. In the next part of this video, I'll walk you through the practice itself, how to begin, what to do, and how to build presence into your day, even when life feels too full. I'll see you there, gently, fully present. Now that you've come this far, I want to offer you something gentle and simple, not a list of tasks, just a way to begin, because turning presence into a habit doesn't require a dramatic change. It begins in small, sacred steps, the kind that fit into your actual life, with your pace, with your real schedule, and with Christ at the center of each breath. The first step is to create a quiet anchor in your day. Choose a moment, maybe right after you wake up or before you sleep. Just 1 minute to close your eyes. Place your hand on your heart and whisper, "Here I am, Lord." This is not a performance, it's a return. Your breath becomes your prayer. No explanations, just presence. The second step is to pause before you react. When something triggers you, a message, a tone, a thought, pause just for 5 seconds. Ask yourself, am I here or somewhere else? Then respond from that awareness. This small space between reaction and response is where presence grows and where peace lives. The third step is to practice 1 moment of slow presence with someone you love. Look them in the eyes. Listen without preparing your answer. Let your face soften. Let silence be okay. This is not just mindfulness, it's ministry. It's the way Christ loved, not rushed, but fully with the person in front of him. I remember one evening, years ago, I was with a friend who had just lost someone dear. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say much. I just sat with them, held space, breathed quietly beside them, and somehow, that silence spoke louder than words ever could. Presence has a language all its own. It heals without explaining, and maybe that's what your soul has been needing. Not more content, not more plans, but quiet presence. The kind that slows the rush inside you, the kind that invites Jesus into the ordinary, that says, I don't have to fix this now, I just have to be here, with him. That's where the shift begins, in the now. You don't need to wait until you're calm to begin. You begin, and the calm comes later. You begin in chaos, in exhaustion, in confusion. You begin in your car, in the kitchen, in the bathroom mirror. And in each of those moments, Christ is not far. He is not watching from a distance. He is right there, closer than your next thought. Let this not be just an idea. Let it become a rhythm, your own quiet revolution against the noise. You can live fast on the outside and still be soft on the inside, still aware, still present. You don't have to abandon your world to find peace. You just need to return, gently, honestly, fully. This presence is not a technique. It's an invitation to walk with Jesus differently, to see with him, to breathe with him, to pause like he paused, to speak with intention, to listen with your whole heart, to sit with people and with yourself the way he did. That's where transformation begins. You were never meant to live split between timelines. God gave you a spirit, not a schedule, and your spirit thrives in presence, in now. This moment, even messy, even loud, is holy. And if you could see it through Christ's eyes, you would know you are not behind. You are exactly where you're meant to return from. So today, I invite you to take this message and let it move through you, in your hands, in your breath, in your conversations. You don't need to hold it all. You just need to hold this moment. Hold it gently. Be inside it. And you'll find that God is already here, waiting. He doesn't demand perfect stillness. He just asks for your presence, your real presence. And every time you show up, even imperfectly, you're choosing Him. You're choosing wholeness over hurry, soul over speed, eternal time over mental time. And that choice, that's worship. If this spoke to you, I invite you to keep walking with me. Subscribe to the channel, not just for more videos, but for more reminders, more breath, more quiet clarity. We're not meant to awaken once. We're meant to keep awakening together. You are not alone in this. I walk this journey too. Some days with ease, some days with resistance, but every day I return, and so can you. Return without shame, without delay. Just return, right now, with your whole self. God meets you in real time, not rehearsed time. May you carry this presence into your day like a soft flame. May it warm what has gone cold. May it calm what feels rushed. May it soften what has hardened in you. And in doing so, may you begin to see the world somehow and yourself through Christ's steady gaze. Let this be the day you stop postponing your own soul. Let this be the moment you stop waiting for permission. Let this be the breath where you say, I am here, and I believe God is too. Let that be enough. Let it begin now, and when it fades, because it will, come back as many times as you need. Come back not to a technique, but to a person, the one who never left, the one who still says, abide in me, the one who walks slower than the world, but never gets lost. This is not a final lesson. It's the beginning of a new way, a quieter way, a more awake way, a life where presence is no longer a rare experience, but a living habit, built slowly, loved deeply, anchored in Christ. May God bless you deeply, and may you walk on awake with Christ at the center.